Welcome, fans, to the first off-season episode of Rangers Ed. This is your host, Cousin Ed, here with my co-host Little Ed and Coach Ed with their Panthers gear. And we got Mikey Produces over there, no longer with his white wall. Get those beautiful pictures up there. What's up, boys?
How we doing? Took that week off. Kicked off the summer officially tonight. Had my first volleyball down on volleyball games or whatever down on the beach. Rocking my tank top, and wanted to give a quick shout out. We're the new brand ambassadors for Mad Rabbit Tattoo Care, so I figured I'd rock my tank top on the episode. Show you guys the tattoo bomb. It's basically just some lotion. You just take a little bit on your finger, rub it into the tattoo, and it gives it that nice, fresh glisten, and it brings the ink out a little bit. So check out YouTube. You can check out my nice pond hockey scene tattoo. And now we're nice and lubed up, ready for the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, so head over to madrabbit.com and use promo code EDPOD23 for 15% off your order.
Yeah, that's sick.
I've been wanting to get a tattoo. This clinches it.
This clinches it. It's
Coach, you're going to get a tattoo?
10 years.
I told Eddie I want to
I
get
don't even know how long ago I got mine.
Wait, what tattoo are you getting?
I'm not sure yet. We have it Eddie has designed. I have to find it.
It's down there. I know where it is.
Get that.
It's going to be a surprise. We'll reveal it.
It's nothing like getting your first tattoo at 60 years old.
Better late than never.
Joey Dallas got his first one at 60. So,
and we got me and Cousin Ed have our next one booked for end of November this year.
Yeah, we got to get you got to help me with the design. We've been working on. I'll talk to you about it. We got to work.
Yeah, we'll talk. I drew it on the plane on the way to visit you last year. Whenever.
Yeah,
last year, your wedding.
I'm gonna tweak it a little bit. Sorry.
We got to get the professional to make it look nice.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, then I'll definitely be using that Mad Rabbit. But yeah, dude, I just got back from Yellowstone. Guys, if you got to go to Yellowstone, it is the most incredible place. Best vacation I've ever been on. Like I have no words. Like the amount of wildlife I saw just roaming around, and the mountains and the fresh air. No cell reception, pretty much for 80% of the trip. Not even Wi-Fi in the hotel.
That's the best.
Just completely disconnected from work, from everything. As much, And then, of course, as soon as we get reception, our instinct is to like go onto the phone, And I was telling Theo, I'm like, it's kind of nice not having the reception. We're just talking. We're like not on the phone, We're just driving, talking, just looking out, and it was crazy. I'm gonna send you guys some pictures. You're gonna be
some pictures.
How did Theo do without any Wi-Fi for 80% of the time?
The first 2 days, there was a lot of complaining about no internet. So in the Lake Yellowstone Hotel, there's literally no cell reception and no Wi-Fi. So the only way you can get internet is if you take this like Ethernet adapter, plug hardwire into their modem from your room, and then connect it to your phone. But they only have like a limited number of them. So you have to get there like 6 a.m. But we were like out the door at 5 and back at like 10 p.m. every day. So we couldn't get it. So finally she calls, they bring it, and it doesn't work. So she was at that point, she plugs it in. She's like, it's not working. I'm like, I've never even seen one of these things before. So there's no chance. I can't Google how to use it. Like, I don't know. And then she was fine. After like 2 days, it was over. She stopped complaining. But of course, every time she got reception, she had to, just call her mom, just check on Cody. Obviously, her mom was watching Cody. But yeah, when you guys see those pictures, man, you're going to be – it doesn't even do it any justice, trust me. But
exciting.
All right. Yeah, it was awesome. So I haven't been keeping up on what's going on. I come back, Eddie's texting me all this stuff about the Rangers, and I'm like trying to catch up on Twitter for 5 days. But we did get some news. Just real quick, the Rangers traded prospect Jaden Grubb the day before his rights expired to Edmonton for a 2023 fifth rounder. Grubb was a 2021 third rounder. Chris Dury made it known in April that he wasn't going to sign Grubb. So, listen, if you're not going to sign the player, might as well trade him and get something back from him. Obviously, Edmonton signed him to a 3-year entry-level contract. But it's nice to recoup that fifth rounder. We traded our fifth rounder, so now we're back into the fifth round. All we need now is a second, a fourth, and a seventh, and we're back in every round. So let's see if he can do it.
Now, what would be the advantage of Edmonton trading for him? What can't they just wait for him to be released or available and sign him?
So due to his age, I'm pretty sure that if his rights expired, he would have re-entered the draft. So then anybody could have drafted him. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 95% sure. If I'm wrong, let some fan correct me. But he could have re-entered the draft. So I take that as saying Edmonton would have just used their fifth round pick on Grubb. So why not just get him, lock it in, be done with it? And if that's not the case, if I am wrong, the other reason would be you don't have to compete with the other 31 teams to sign the player. If you're high on the prospect and your scouts like him, go get him. Kind of like the Rangers did with Fox, right? Fox could have been a free agent in a couple of months if they waited, but they gave up 2 second-round picks because they liked the player and they just wanted to get it done. So sometimes you got to just go out and do it. That's a little minor deal. Good to get back into the draft, and as much as possible, we got to restock the farm system. Patty Kane today, it was announced, Eddie, you broke it was today, right, that he had the surgery, the hip reconstruction surgery, 4 to 6 month recovery.
Yeah, I was listening on the radio as usual, NHL Network, and I just heard in the background, like I wasn't really paying attention, and I just heard that Patrick Kane got resurfacing surgery on his hip and is out 4 to 6 months. And the first thing I thought of was Cousin Ed calling it, put him on long-term injured reserve, sign him right now, and have him fresh for next year's playoff run.
Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal, right? 4 to 6 months from now puts him on a recovery period of October, November, a return, which is not playoffs. That's way early in the season. So
Backstrom's time from a similar surgery was a little extended, I think.
Yeah, so maybe let's say he even misses like 8 months. That puts him into February. That's more like it, I think. Then you can LTIR him. If he's back by October to December, it'll be tough. I'll have to have a real low salary hit.
Well, that's what I was going to say next. Is I think recently it was projected that he was going to make $4 to $5 million per year. I mean, I don't see a team really taking a chance on him at that cost after this surgery.
Well, I think he's either going to get like a 3-year deal at a price point like you just gave, or he's going to take like a 1-year deal with a team he wants to play for at a cheap hit. It's going to be one or the other. It depends what he wants. If he wants that security, the risk for him is if he takes a 1-year deal at like, let's say like a Bergeron contract, like $2.5 million, something like that. And he comes back and isn't the same player. What's his next contract going to look like, right? So he might want 2 to 3 years at a $3 to $4 million, $5 million range to just, secure the next couple of years of his hockey career, and, get a little insurance on his hip surgery. I don't know. Who knows what the player wants? I mean, he's got 3 Stanley Cups, MVP, gold medal, right? I mean, the guy has everything. So at this point, I think he's just kind of going to dictate the end of his career. So I don't know. Hopefully we can lock him in and LTIR him, because it would be nice to have Kane and Kakko in the top 6 come mid-season,
Yeah, that's and I heard someone saying, I forget who it was on the radio, that it would be interesting if he decides to even play. I mean, all the accolades you just named. I mean, what else more does he need? I mean, risking another serious hip injury that changes the rest of your life. So he might be thinking ahead a little bit, and you never know, he might just be done. But I'd be surprised if he just hung him up. I mean, I think he still has a lot to give, especially if the surgery goes well, or went well, I should say.
Yeah, it said it went well. I mean, look, he's not even 35 yet, right?
That's what I'm saying.
It's a little early to start calling it quits. Maybe he does. Who knows? But he's got a couple years left in him. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't really know where he would want to go. Remember, he wants to stay close to his dad. His dad drives to all his games. So you're thinking Northeast, right? Where would he go? New Jersey? You really want to play in New Jersey? Rangers, Islanders.
I think if anything, he stays here.
Buffalo
or Buffalo. Yeah, I mean, they're
He's
up and
from
coming.
Buffalo. Believe me, he doesn't want to go back to Buffalo. He knows all about Buffalo. There's nothing to do in Buffalo. He knows that, right?
What are you talking about? Why wouldn't he want to go home to finish out his career with an up and coming team?
I was just taking a shot at Buffalo for no reason. I don't know. He might want to do that. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, Boston, any of those teams that are up where his dad could drive to the games, I think is where he would go. So
I don't think he's a Boston Bruin type of player.
What does that mean?
The way they are right now, I don't see him as that kind of a player.
What? Because he's successful and not a choker?
Better you said it than me, but he's just not that. Like he's not a flyer. It's not that. That's not his game. You know, I'd be surprised to see him in those uniforms.
Right, like Tony D'Angelo is a flyer. We'll see what happens with Kane. We'll keep an eye on it. Rangers haven't really done much after they signed Hedl. They haven't signed Laffy or Miller yet. They haven't touched any of their unrestricted free agents. Drury's kind of playing it slow right now. Got a month until free agency, so we should start to see some action in the next couple of weeks. We'll keep an eye on it. But the big news that's going on right now is the Rangers still do not have a head coach, and we see other teams making moves. Washington signed Spencer Carberry as their head coach. Nashville fires John Hines, and immediately hires Andrew Brunette, who was an expected candidate for the Rangers job. So 2 guys off the board, and John Hines back out in the market. So, what's going on? Why is this taking so long? That's number one. So we'll start there. What do you think is the slow play here of Drury? Is he waiting for something? What's going on? And then we'll take a look at each of the candidates and make some predictions. So just generally, Little Ed, like Drury fires Gallant. How long ago was it now? 2 weeks ago?
I say you see that, no?
Yeah, and you see other teams that are
it's more than 2 weeks. It's 10 days since the Panthers won their series, so it's almost 3 weeks. I'd say.
Yeah, it's been a while, and you see other teams. They fire the coach and they hire another coach. It's usually right away or within a week. They have somebody in mind. They kind of know who they want, and they just make the change. Right? Seems like Drury fired Gallant. Do you think he had an idea of who he wants as the coach? Is that why it's taking so long, or do you think he's just kind of going through the process?
I think he wants to. I think he was kind of waiting for everything to shake out, the dust to settle from the season. Like you said, all the other teams to kind of make their moves, make their firings. I mean, the general managers have that group text that we keep hearing about that, like, as soon as you're not a general manager, you get booted from the group text or whatever. So I'm sure they talk like, hey, I'm probably going to fire Hines next week or something. Like, I just can't announce it yet. Like they got to have some kind of chit chat, that we don't obviously see or know about. I mean, EJ, our interview with EJ Raddick last week, he kind of touched on the whole process and how they go about it, making all the phone calls and whatnot. So I like that Drury's taking his time. I think he's kind of not running out of time. I think he's got to just make the move at this point. But I like that he took his time and he's interviewing everyone and doing his due diligence, and hopefully he makes the right decision.
Coach, you got anything to add there, or you agree?
I mean, I think he's got to be waiting for something to be happening, either like you were talking about the playoffs, some playoff series to end where someone's available that he has in mind. I can't see him hiring Quenneville or Babcock, but I'd be shocked.
Well, I think that They got to get the coach locked in soon because they need to be on the same page going into the off season, right? Like you're going to draft and add players in free agency and trade players. You kind of need to know who the coach is so you know what the style is going to be, so you know what the strategy is going to be going into the season. You can't just sit on it forever. So I'm not really concerned yet, but if they don't have a coach in the next 7 to 10 days, I'm going to start being like, what's going on here? There's a reason. And we know from, uh, you know, we know from the news that Joel Quenneville is out there, obviously with the issues he had with Brad Aldrich in Chicago and the Kyle Beach incident. He's been, unofficially suspended by the NHL, and he cannot re-enter coaching until Gary Bettman meets with him and places proper restrictions on him coaching. So he's expected to meet with Bettman after the NHL playoffs are over. That's one thing Drury could be waiting for, to see what Bettman decides with Quenneville. And then the other thing is Patrick Waugh, as you mentioned, coach. He's the coach of the Quebec Ramparts in the Memorial Cup right now. Once that's over, he'll be able to talk to the teams as well. So maybe he's waiting just for one of those things. I have no idea. But he can't be too thrilled with the guys he's got so far if he hasn't locked any of them up yet, right? So you got John Hines, fired by Nashville. He was teammates with Chris Drury in college. They know each other real well. Peter Laviolette, interesting note on him. Coach Ed will like this. He's one of only 4 coaches in NHL history to coach 3 different teams to a Stanley Cup final. He's only won one of them in Carolina in 06. And he also coached Philly in 2010 and Nashville in 2017 to a cup final. And he's 8th all time in wins. So he's had a pretty illustrious career. You got Jay Leach, the assistant in Seattle. He's only got 2 years of NHL coaching experience. Before that, he was a head coach in college. So only, really young coach, but really highly thought of, X's and O's guys. Good motivator. Kyle Dubas just brought in with Pittsburgh. Rumor was maybe he'd fire Mike Sullivan. He kind of put that down today and said Sullivan is a great coach and he's not going anywhere. So I don't think that's going to happen. That's been Larry Brooks's pipe dream in his recent articles. Obviously, Quenneville, we discussed, second winningest coach in NHL history, 3-time Stanley Cup champion with the Blackhawks. Not allowed to coach right now until Bettman says it's okay. Mike Babcock, another guy who's been out of the league. He had that bullying scandal in Toronto where he was pretty much bullying Mitch Marner. So hasn't coached since 2019, 2020 season. Before that, pretty successful coach and Stanley Cup champion with Detroit. Chris Knobloch, we talked about him in prior episodes. He's the head coach in Hartford, so he's highly thought of by Drury, obviously, and Patrick Waugh, who coached the Avalanche for 3 years, had a 52-win season his first year as a coach. Coach, I don't know if you remember him coaching, but he was getting in fights with other coaches. He was like climbing over the glass and fighting people and, all kinds of crazy stuff. He's known for having a temper. So maybe that's Patrick Waugh.
Oh, yeah. I remember when he was at Colorado. It was crazy.
Yeah, as the coach, he was like fighting people in the hallway and stuff. So maybe that's what the Rangers need. I don't know. But he was a teammate of Chris Drury's in Colorado when they were winning championships. That's pretty much the list right now. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Mikey, let's just start with you. I mean, anybody on this list really excite you, or are you just kind of just riding it out and just letting Drury do his thing and hope he's right? I mean, I don't know.
I feel like I have to. I don't follow the league, or at least all these coaches, as intensely as other people, but I have to have faith in Drury, and I feel like, make a decision on a head coach is something that, shouldn't be rushed. I know you said before that a lot of teams fire that head coach and then a couple of days later hire somebody. So I feel like it should take, should be somewhat of a process. So I have faith in Drury and whoever he chooses.
Yeah, I mean, Coach, what do you think? Anybody on a short list here that gets you, excited, or are you just kind of not? I'm not. I don't know. I don't know what to say, honestly.
I don't think they should go after Babcock. He doesn't have the history. If you listen to Chelios's interviews here and there, he doesn't seem like a people person. I'm not saying they got to coddle people, but he seems like way too old school, which you hate. And I don't see Quenneville with his reputation with what happened. I don't think he should be allowed back, to be honest with you. I would like Laviolette. He's a USA hockey guy. He's got the Stanley Cup experience. I like him. I've seen interviews with him before. I would be very happy with him.
Laviolette is another older coach. He's definitely had success, but again, if you're going to hire Laviolette, I just question the need to fire Gallant. I think they're very similar coaches. I mean, their styles are very similar. They make every player. Let's say, I don't want to say this because it sounds bad, but they don't give the young guys rope, right? They make them earn it. Laviolette did that with Connor McMichael in Washington. I was reading about how he treated all the prospects in Washington. He played Matt Irwin, a big, heavy Ben Harper type defenseman, over one of their best defense prospects in a season where they weren't making the playoffs. Doesn't make sense to me. I mean, so I just don't want to go through that again. I mean, if that's the route, if they're going to bring in Laviolette and he's going to put Laffy on the third line and Kako on the third line and they're not going to play on the power play, like, what is the point? Like, why even change coaches then? Why not just keep Gerard Gallant? That's my issue with Laviolette. It's not personal with him. I think he's probably, a good fit in the sense that he's had success and he'll probably come in here and have success, kind of like Gallant did, right? But how long is it going to last, and is it going to develop our players properly? That's the question. I don't know.
Who do you want? What guy do you feel is going to develop the young kids? You think Roy's going to develop kids? He'll be yelling at them. They'll be in the corner crying.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know.
So who do you want?
It's not necessarily who I want. I don't really like any of them. Well, let me rephrase that. I think they all have flaws. Every single one of them has like a major flaw that concerns me, right? Like, I really like Jay Leach from what I read about him. That's the kind of hire you want to make. It reminds me of when the Lightning hired John Cooper. When the Hurricanes got Brind'Amour, you get a young, up-and-coming coach, and you get him and develop him as a coach, and he takes off and has a lot of success. I like that idea. I think it's too risky of a move for Drury. I mean, if Drury hires this coach and this coach falters, his job's on the line. He might get fired, So from Drury's perspective, if I were him, I would want to go a safe route where if it doesn't work out, I could be like, hey, what do you want me to do? The guy's been to the finals 3 times. Like, he's a great coach. He's, 8th all time in wins. It's a lot easier to sell that to the owner. It's a lot harder to be like, hey, I took a chance on this young 43-year-old assistant and, it didn't work out. You look like an idiot.
Well,
so
I wonder if Sather's going to have a say in what they should do with his experience. Like EJ had said, Sather's probably not heavily involved, but sticking his nose in there. And I think the experienced guy's the way to go. And if anything, bring in the guy Jay Leach. I don't know much about him, but maybe bring him in as an assistant and groom him for a couple of years away. But do you want to take a risk on that? I wouldn't want to as a GM. Not at this stage where the Rangers are. I would like to think a year or two away from getting there, if not next year. They could win any year coming up. So you want to risk these players, risk these couple of years? I don't think it's worth the risk right now. If you would have did it when you hired Quinn, I'd say yes. You didn't like Quinn when they hired him, and that was your example of hiring an up-and-coming guy, a hockey guy, a college guy who has experience with young kids, and you didn't like it the way it turned out.
I liked Quinn. I didn't like how it ended with Quinn. I don't like how Quinn coached. I like the hiring of Quinn. I just didn't like him as coach.
Well, how do you know that's not going to happen again? It's a variable that's a big risk.
You like the
I agree.
idea of
that's
it.
what I just said. Yeah.
Well, that's what you're risking.
Little Ed is back. His internet cut out, so now he's joining us via cell reception.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on over here. Bogus.
So pretty much we're just going around the horn here. Like, any of these coaches actually excite you? That's the first question. Are you like excited by the prospect of any of these coaches?
They kind of did we talk about Knobloch at all?
Yeah.
He would be my pick. I mean, I said that in a recent episode, without a doubt. I mean, I joke around about being a big Wolfpack fan, but I think he does a great job with them. Um, it seems like players are excited or happy to play for him, and they play hard for him, from what I saw. And I think he's been around the team. He's been around a lot of these players, developing them, and whatever the case may be. And I think he does a great job. As far as like the more veteran coaches, I always remember Coach Ed wanting or getting excited about Laviolette whenever he was available. He always said that he wanted the Rangers to get him. So that kind of piqued my interest a little bit. I know he's kind of had success everywhere he goes, but I'm just a little worried about these veteran guys kind of just being old school. I kind of want like a new face, a new not the carousel of coaches like I talked about or like we spoke about or whatever. So I don't know.
I mean,
Not really
Laviolette even
opposed
did
to
it.
Hines.
I'm sorry, Ed. Laviolette
No,
even
go
did good with the Islanders that year or two. Got him back into the playoffs, I believe, and then he got fired. So he took a team that really had no one on the team, and he had them very competitive. So
Yeah, I mean, who did Hines put? Hines coached Dallas before that. Before
Heinz
Nashville?
coached New Jersey and Nashville.
New Jersey. I'm thinking of who am I thinking with Dallas? Whatever. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate him as the coach either, but I just don't really see like the draw to him why he's such a good candidate.
So
I'm not
so I
really
did
sure,
a
other than maybe being able to beat the Devils.
I did a little digging into Hines with all the obviously the hot news has been that it was like, oh, the Rangers are going to hire Laviolette, and then Hines got fired, and then it was like, oh, pause, like we're going to interview Hines. So like, what is so special about this guy? Because when you just look it up, he looks like a retread, like another carousel, like you said. And this is what I read about him. So I mean, this isn't me speaking. Hines laid out an identity he wanted to see his team play. This is when he got hired by Nashville. Aggressive on the forecheck, strong net front present, play to the inside of the ice, creative high pressure offense, and a 5-man committed and structured defense. Sounds perfect, right? The team needs to be tough to play against, is what he said, seeking to build that identity. So then the article analyzed whether he was able to do that in Nashville. And to an extent, he was, right? I mean, he took a banged up Nashville team this year, almost took them to the playoffs. He did a pretty decent job, in New Jersey. He was about 500, 5 years there, and then 4 years in Nashville, 3 consecutive winning seasons there. So, the problem I'm having is there's no clear cut answer. I've been trying to figure out what has been the golden ticket to getting a coach that will win the cup, right? So I'm looking at the cup winners, and I'm looking at some of these guys' careers, like Joel Quenneville. We talked about this. Joel Quenneville is renowned as the second winningest coach ever, 3 Stanley Cups, right? But if you look at his career, he started as the head coach in St. Louis for 8 seasons and lost in the playoffs 7 straight seasons, and then missed the playoffs in his 8th year, fired. Then he goes to Colorado. 3 years in Colorado, fired, right? 2 out of the 3 years he made the playoffs. Then it wasn't until his third coaching hire, Chicago, that he actually won the Stanley Cup. So there isn't really an answer. Like I can't sit here and be like, the carousel of coaches is not the way to go, or we need a new hire. Like there's no definitive analytical way of looking at this that says that this is the 100% what the Rangers should do. I don't really have the answer. I know we're supposed to come up with our ideas here, but I would like Hines more than Laviolette, I think, in just looking at them. I agree with Little Ed. Laviolette what is he? He's up there in age now. He's coached so many years. He's got an old school mindset. He's been coaching since like 1995 or something. The game is different. We need a younger guy. Hines is in his 40s. He's a younger coach. Maybe he's the right way to go. Give him his third crack at it and see if he can, come through. I don't know.
On the
the
other
way I
side of the
look,
argument, however, though, is look at Florida and look at Vegas right now. They got veteran coaches, little older, been around the game a long time. I mean, I know you mentioned my Florida jersey behind me, but I think they're going to pull it out. Paul Maurice has done a great job with them. Coach Ed's got my Florida jersey from when I was, probably about 2 years old, hanging behind me, 3 years old.
Well, that was
Yeah.
when they went to the finals with Van Beesbrook. So what
Oh,
was
so it
that?
must have been 96. That was
He
the
was
last
7
time they
years old.
made it to the finals. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. All right. Well, I guess we're going to need Oscar at Pro Stitch Hockey to embroider us a new Florida jersey. Maybe get a throwback Van Beesbrook in an adult size.
Yeah, I want a Matty Kachuk in the version that Coach Ed has in the background though. I don't like their new jerseys
They should bring that
So-
one back as a third next year.
for sure. Well, their third this year is pretty cool. That light blue one. It looks like a roller hockey jersey, but it's a nice jersey.
Yeah. Wonder if Oscar sewed up any of those this year. I'm gonna have to ask him to post one of them. But Coach, what were you gonna say?
I kind of lost my train of thought about Laviolette. I just feel that the success has followed him, and I think it would be a good mix. I mean, Hines would be. I don't disagree with the statement you made about this being his third go round, and it could be his year. But I mean, Laviolette's been pretty successful every time he takes over a team. I mean, I don't know. He didn't do great with Washington, but he dealt with a lot of injuries there also. The Flyers was hit and miss, but I mean, he's been to playoffs and Stanley Cup Finals, won a cup everywhere he's gone. So I don't see. I think that's the lowest risk, in my opinion.
So I'm just looking this up. Laviolette has coached 20. What is he? I'm going to see if he skipped any years. 22 seasons. Yeah, 22 seasons, and he's had a record under 500 3 times. And one of those was 0-3 with Philly, and then he was fired, so that doesn't really count. So really 2 times in 21 seasons, he's been under 500. I mean, the guy is a good coach. There's no question. He's a good coach. He's got a Stanley Cup championship. He's got an AHL championship. He's been to the finals with 3 different teams. He's a good coach. I just agree with Little Ed. It's kind of like, is he going to come in and pull a Tom Coughlin where he's going to say, all right, like I need to change my mindset here. It didn't work out with Washington. Let me fix how I look at the game here and look at coaching. Or is he going to come in and be like, this is the year 2000 and I'm the coach of the, Islanders and this is the way the game should be played. No, that's not going to work. It's just not. But,
Well, that's my point. Now I just remembered what I was thinking of. With a player, a lot of times you say like Marchessault, like the Vegas team, was a bunch of misfit throwaways from teams, right? With a chip on their shoulder. So they needed to find the right place at the right time, and it happened to click. So it's the same thing with coaching. You talk about the guy Hines. Maybe it just didn't click with certain teams in certain situations. But with Laviolette, it seems to no matter what, he adapts to the team, and he's somewhat successful. So he may not come in with a definite style. He might. It's like what Valley was saying. You have to develop the team based on your strengths, and that's what a more veteran coach may be adept to doing. Like, see what he's got with the defense, with Shesty, and work on that. Whereas you might have a younger coach come in and say, "This is how I want to do it," and he might not be able to deal with those egos as easily. It's a difficult situation when you have a bunch of egos as compared to a bunch of young kids where you could say, okay, let's go out and have fun.
yeah, I mean, look, Laviolette has some pretty good reviews. He's coached some legends, right? He coached Alex Ovechkin just right off the bat in Washington, so we're not even going back here. And this is an article in the Athletic from 2020 when he was hired by Washington. It says from an X's and O's standpoint, it's quick to reveal, the analytics are quick to reveal that offense is not a problem for Laviolette. Keeping the puck out of the net is what he's good at changing. So a team that struggles, to prevent goals, he comes in and inserts a structured defense. That could help a guy like Keandre Miller, right? Who's needs a little bit of structure in his game. He had a good season and 43 points on the back end for sure. But, I think he can use a little defensive structure. So bringing in a coach who's not going to stifle the offense, but is going to actually bring some defensive structure could work, right? It's just hard to analyze this because I've watched sports long enough to know that when you're talking about a coach before they're hired, you're trying to predict what that coach is going to be like as the coach of the team that you're following, right? And it's just impossible to really do that to the full extent. But if we're just saying, okay, Laviolette from his coaching style that I saw in Washington, if he brings that to the Rangers, that's not going to work. But like you said, Coach, if he's going to change that and he's going to come in and say, okay, what are the weaknesses with the Rangers? I have to change the way I coach. I'm going to insert a different system with these players. Then sure, if that's the kind of coach he is, then that could work. He's a motivational guy. He's had success. The players will respect him.
That's the key. That's the key you just said. They need someone to kick them in the ass and motivate. The talent is there. Create the structure and get them to play. That's what it comes down to. They didn't play in the playoffs consistent as a team. How did they blow out the Devils one game and then lose the next game? Blow them out one game, lose the next. That didn't make any sense. There was no structure there, no motivation for a lot of guys in the way I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that's why you need that guy. You want to say it's an old school guy, whatever, but you need that structure. And then you got to – maybe the problem was with Gallant. He had that older – what was his name? Murphy as the offensive coach. Maybe they need Laviolette and two young guys with a little bit different mindset. Two younger – not young guys, but you know what I mean. Up-and-coming guys like the guy Jay Leach or whoever. So a guy like that. To get low, like I always compare with me and Eddie. I'm the older guy, and then Eddie's more related to the players because he's not that far out of college. You know what I'm saying? So you want that little buffer. You don't want three old school guys to coach the team. You want to get that little buffer in between.
Right, a guy in his 40s who played professional hockey, like something like that.
You need the motivational guy and the guy who's going to be the psychologist with the players because you have all that talent. And then you got to have guys that are going to be on the ice in practice, a little more friendly with them. But, the whole cliche. That's how I look at it. You need a little mix.
Whoever the coach is, though, I'm adamant about this point. They have to incorporate Kakko and Lafreniere into the top six and the power play. It just has to be done. It has to be done. If the coach is not willing to do that, then they're not the right coach. If they don't do that, mark my words, it's going to be a long couple of seasons when Panarin and Zibanejad start aging out of their prime. It's going to be tough. They have to just work them in. So if Laviolette is that guy, I'm perfectly fine with whoever. I'm reading a lot on Twitter and on the internet. A lot of fans just are in Little Ed's boat. Like they just don't want one of these carousel coaches. They're just, you mention any of them and they're just like, oh, another guy that's going to fail, another typical Rangers move.
You can't just say that. You have to come up with a solution.
Well, they want a guy like Knobloch or Jay Leach, a guy like who can be the Rangers version of John Cooper. I just don't see the Rangers doing it. I wouldn't mind it. I think it's a good risk, but I'm also not the GM. So my job is not at stake. Like when you make decisions that could cost you your job, you tend to be more cautious, right? So we're all fans. Like we don't care if Chris Drury takes a risk. Go ahead, take the risk. I'll still be a fan. But I'm an attorney, right? So if I'm going to make a decision that can really seriously impact my job if I screw it up, you tend as humans to make a little bit of a safer decision than a riskier one, right? It's taking a risk is, it's just hard to do. It really is. Now, taking a risk can lead to success often, right? Like all these great success stories, they turn into movies. People take risks. But honestly, look, this is Chris Drury's. He hired Gerard Gallant, gave him a 4-year deal. He fired him after 2 seasons. This is his second coach. He was the assistant GM before that. Jim Dolan is proven that he's still an impatient guy and still pays attention to the Rangers. How much of a leash is he going to give Chris Drury? That to me is the biggest thing that fans need to realize. they're probably not going to go with one of these young guys because of that. That's the reality.
Well, you got to also ask the question: how much input does Dolan have? Then is he talking with Sather and listening to what they want to do and saying to Drury, "This is what we got to have to do"? We don't know their dynamic of what their meetings are. So how much into it is he? Is he a Steinbrenner type guy where he's saying this is what's going to happen? Is he more like a puppet? We don't know.
That's a good question.
I mean, the way I see it leaning, I think the Rangers are going to go with a more experienced coach, kind of with the thought going in that they have a shelf life as well. And then I think Knobloch is kind of going to continue to groom himself to be like the next coach. Unless he gets poached, I guess, from another team, which would suck. But I think they still have that one more bridge that since Gallant didn't finish out his contract, I think they're looking for that experience bridge. And then they're going to give like a fresh guy an opportunity once Zibanejad, once Panarin. Those guys kind of age out of their prime, like you said.
Well, look at it this way also. Knobloch is very good at the AHL, at the Wolfpack, right? But you got to get him on the bench in the NHL, in my opinion, just like they brought in Quinn. Never an NHL experience. Is a different game playing in big-time college hockey as you're getting into the NHL. The same thing with Knobloch. Yeah, he's been doing real well at the AHL level where you have 20 hungry guys every game wanting to make the big leagues, where the motivation may not be as tough to motivate them. Their motivation is to make the big leagues. Now you got to deal with 20 guys who are in the big leagues, who half of them have big contracts, no trade, this and that. Can he deal with that?
Can you deal with that?
That's tough. Jack. That's a big difference in saying so maybe they bring in Knobloch as the assistant with Laviolette. Give him 2-3 years at the NHL level.
We're set. But then you kind of that's a tough decision because then you're like Knobloch's succeeding so well with the Wolfpack. So like you're kind of like
no, they offer you that job, you're taking it, baby.
No, he obviously is going to take it, but the Rangers are saying, like, we have him as the head coach of the Wolfpack. He's grooming these guys to come up into our system. He might be better off there being the head coach there. But, yes, I agree. I think that also brings it back into your argument saying, like, okay, hire Laviolette or hire Hines or someone older or whatever, more experienced, and then have Knobloch as the assistant, as that younger guy. Even, like I said, too, make him the associate coach. He doesn't have to be the assistant. He doesn't have to be the offense coach. He could be that associate coach that a lot of teams are going for now and kind of grooming them that way. Yeah,
I agree.
And the Rangers obviously have the money to hire whoever they want or whatever, the amount of staff or whatever you want to call it. Like that's not a concern where they have to be, okay, we can only afford 3 coaches. It's like, no, like toss this guy a job, toss that guy a job type situation.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, the Rangers, they didn't fire Gord Murphy, so he's still on the payroll as an assistant coach. I got to think whoever they hire is going to want to pick their own coaches, right? I mean, if you're Laviolette, you come in, you get interviewed, you get offered to be the head coach. I mean, it's not like Drury's going to be like, all right, your assistants are Gord Murphy and Chris Knobloch. Like, that's not going to happen.
I don't know. How does it work?
I'm sure Laviolette's going to say, like, I want my coaches. I want the guys.
At least a discussion.
Yeah, but did Laviolette get fired and so did his assistants? I mean, you'd have to find out what his history of having assistants if they keep going with him or not. I don't know that.
Well, it's not necessarily the same ones, but it could be that there's certain guys that he trusts, and around the league. Maybe they're not currently coaching or whatever. Who knows?
Did Drury play for Team USA? Did Drury play for Team USA when Laviolette coached it?
Oh, that's a good question. Mikey. Look that up. That's a good question.
Chris Drury and Hines definitely have a history.
They played at BC together. They were on the same team. And then him and also Wah and Drury played in Colorado, so he knows him. So those two are definitely connected. I think you might be right about Laviolette coaching when Drury played. Laviolette started coaching in 2000. Drury retired in 05, 06. So it's possible. It could line up.
Yeah,
But
but he
anyway,
started coaching the NHL in 2000, but I think he was Team USA before that.
yeah. So on this topic though of coaches, before we get back to the head coaches, I want to do a little quick sidebar here. So you guys know about these like skills coaches that teams have now?
Yes.
Adam Oates
They have
does it a lot for teams, and
yeah. So the Rangers have player development and skills guys that work with the younger players. And here's what they have: director of player development is Jed Ortmeyer. Do you remember Jed Ortmeyer?
Yeah.
yeah,
We have his autograph on one of these posters.
number
Assistant
41
director
or something.
Assistant director of player development is Tanner Glass. And player development assistant is Matt Hunwick.
So all grinders.
Hunwick.
So literally seventh defenseman and fourth liners. And I was curious about this. I'm like, what the hell would you hire a Jed Ortmeyer? Nothing against Jed Ortmeyer, but as like a skills coach, like a player development coach, wouldn't you want like an Adam Oates, like you said? Like, why is it Jed Ortmeyer? Most teams in the league have like a fourth liner, seventh defenseman as their skills coach. And I'm just curious about that. Like, what do you, coach? What do you think the
I think
reasoning for that?
I think you're saying two different things. I know you're kind of like saying development and skills kind of go hand in hand, but like a skills coach, like an on ice skills coach, is a lot different than like the director of player development, I think.
Okay, so the skills coach is Mark Chaccio.
Right. So he's kind of just like he works on like turning and
Power
proper
skating
angles
and-
for shooting,
Right.
power skating. Once again, you guys got to watch the All or Nothing Maple Leaf show because they go through all of this too. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so whatever player development skills. Like I know I'm kind of lumping them together, but you have. I would want my director of player development who's interacting with the young players to be a skilled
Yeah.
player to develop the skills necessary to be successful. So I'm just curious, coach, like from your perspective, why would you want like a Jed Ortmeyer to be your director of player development? Because most teams have that. So I'm just trying to find the rationale for it.
Well, I'm looking at look at most of these non-player jobs like analysts, announcers. Most of the better guys are the third, fourth liners, the sixth, seventh defensemen. You know, they're all over NHL Network. Who's on NHL Network? Stu Grimson,
Brian
Lindsay, who
Boyle.
played with the Panthers, Boyle. These are all guys who are in the trenches and know the game and watch a lot of hockey because, like I said before, they need to work at it to make it and stay there.
And didn't make enough money to retire off of.
Well, that also, but
That's part of it also. Yeah. No, but that's true. I mean,
definitely also, but they're rink rats. You know,
Yeah.
they're going to be there forever. And Jed Ortmeyer, like Eddie said, he probably isn't on the ice teaching the skills, but he's creating a structure and a game plan saying player X needs to work more on this. Matt Williams or whatever his name is, make him work on his left turns, his backhand, whatever the case is. So he may be analyzing or has a staff of people who analyze each player what they need. So I don't think I would be surprised if Jed Ortmeyer is on the ice teaching Lafreniere how to
stick handle.
turn. Yeah.
Well, that would explain a lot, wouldn't it?
My reasoning or rationale my reasoning or rationale for it, I think, would be that players like that, Jed Ortmeyer, Hunwick, and who was the last one you said?
Glass.
Players like that have gone through everything. And I was listening to Marty St. Louis' interview on Chicklets the other day, and he said something very similar. He said, I wasn't drafted. I had to play in the AHL. I got sent down at one point. I had to battle back. There's not a single player on my bench that I can't relate to on a personal level. So I think that's a very interesting thing. Also with this is whereas like guys like Tanner Glass, Jed Ortmeyer, it didn't come naturally where they were first overall picks and they made it right to the show. So they can interact with these players. They can talk to these players that are developing that don't necessarily have it now, but they can talk to them and say, hey, stick with it. Look at how I was. I wasn't even the best player, but I still cracked the league. You know, things like that. So I think like like I said, as director, it's more of like not like a not a puppet, but like kind of like a face to it. Whereas like he's just in the meetings and talking to the players on a personal level. Then you worry about the skills coaches to actually show them what to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like kind of show them how to be a pro, not show them how to stick handle.
Right. And just like show them not to give up. Like I said, like a player like Jed Ortmeyer, it didn't come naturally. It wasn't easy for him. Tanner Glass, especially. I mean, he
Well,
was
that's the
always up and
case,
down.
and they need to fire all of them because all we have is prospects who give up, so they're not working. It's not working, whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
But anyway, also on the Rangers payroll, and we'll go back to the head coaches and wrap this up. Jeff Bukaboom is an amateur scout. Thought that was interesting. Steve Eminger, also another amateur scout. And Ryan Clough, hockey operations advisor. Like, what? How do you get these jobs? Like,
They just make up titles.
Yeah.
and then Henrik Lundqvist, ambassador. I love it.
Just shows up to the rink and looks good.
Yeah.
You know who else Jury has to hire besides a head coach?
A
They
trainer.
fired Jim Ramsey. Yeah.
Yeah, what is that about?
We didn't mention that.
I have no idea.
Mikey. Good job.
I have no idea. I didn't understand that concept or what.
I can only think of
hear anything.
two things possibly. Ryan Lindgren's injury at the end of the year, that was a little weird. He was out for game after game after game and wasn't put on long-term injured reserve. He could have been. They could have added another piece with the salary cap space if they had done that. Maybe Ramsey was saying not to. I don't know. And then also the Patrick Kane thing. Maybe there was something there where, there was some kind of conflict with his hip injury. I don't know. I mean, the guy's been there. Forever.
Come on. He's not a doctor. The doctors have to be hands-on with the players about their injuries. I mean, Ramsey's there. What, he didn't massage him good enough? What? They're like bench guys, practice guys, putting ice packs on, getting guys ready to play if they get a cut. He's not the one analyzing Lindgren's shoulder injury. There has to be a team doctor doing x-rays,
Not only is there a team doctor, there's a chief medical officer and vice president of player care, senior vice president of sports science, medical director and head team physician, assistant team physician, director of sports nutrition, team dentist, and assistant team dentist. And that's just on the website. That doesn't.
Who's the team dentist?
Sports psychologist, Dr. Donald Solomon. Oh, you're going to make an appointment?
No.
See if he has a practice. Go in there.
I think that's who got me the tickets to sit in the Delta Club at that time.
Yeah,
I got my friend the tickets.
Yeah, Dr. Donald Solomon.
I mean, maybe he did something that he shouldn't have done for Lindgren's injury. Maybe he gave him something, or speculate. I don't know. It's all speculation, but how do you hear for the last 10 years the best in the business, but constant accolades, and all of a sudden randomly they fire Jim Ramsey?
Well, in fairness, it was also Joe Micheletti saying that, so he probably said that about every trainer in the league, right? So, but anyway, yes, they do need to hire.
As long as they don't fire Kaz, we're in business. If they fire Kaz, something's going down.
I don't see any other vacancies on the staff. We'll see. So, ultimately, let's look at this and just make our predictions here. What do you think the Rangers do? Are they going with a veteran like Hines or Laviolette? Just pick the coach that, you think the Rangers are going to hire. So we'll start with you, Little Ed. Put you on the hot spot. Let you start off.
Who I think or who I want?
No, yeah. Who do you think the Rangers will actually hire?
Who do I think? I think they're going to go after Hines. I think it's that nice middle ground between too young or too inexperienced and a little too old and too outdated. I think for whatever reason they have a target for him. They obviously waited. If they're going to pick Laviolette, I think they would have done that by now. If Dury knew it deep down inside that he was the guy, there wouldn't be any reason to wait for Hines. And once I heard that he has that history with Dury playing on the same team, I feel like Dury kind of has like a soft spot or like a thing for like old connections. I mean, I think isn't that kind of why Quinn was hired in a way? I mean, he always goes after American-born players. It feels like just things like that. I think he surrounds himself with people he's comfortable with.
Well, I think that's true about anybody in the league, but
For sure. We're close to this, so
yeah.
that was my first thought. As soon as I heard he had any kind of connection to Dury, I was like, "Oh, that's obviously the guy." That's who he
Coach,
was
what about
waiting
you?
for.
I don't know. I mean, after you were saying about Rawad and then saying how long he's waiting, I don't know what to think. Really, it's going to be a surprise. My vote's for Laviolette. You know that. So
Do you think they actually hire him though? That's the question. Now,
I don't know. What's to think? I don't know.
Make a prediction.
I'm going to say Laviolette.
Put your chips on the table, Coach.
I'm doing a
Jeez.
cousin Ed. I hate Quinn, but I like the idea. I don't know.
All right, Mikey. Who do you think the Rangers hire?
I'm gonna agree with Coach. I think they're gonna go with Laviolette. I did confirm that Drury did play for him back in 06 in
See,
the
there's the
Olympics.
connection. There's the
Oh,
connection.
another connect. There's a lot of connections, so maybe my theory's off.
Maybe
right.
Hines and Laviolette will be co-coaches.
Yeah.
I could see a assistant coach with Hines and Laviolette being hired, but I think I agree with Little Ed. They're going to go with Hines. I think it is a good middle ground. Hines is 48 this season, so he's still pretty young for a coach, but he has 8 NHL years coaching. Actually 9. 4 in Nashville and 5 in New Jersey. So he comes experienced, and Drury knows him and knows his strengths and weaknesses as a coach. He's going to know that. They're probably texting our friends, and he'll make sure that Hines will work with Drury, right? So I think that's the benefit of hiring a guy like Hines that and you're friends with, is that they're going to work together, and there's not going to be any kind of conflict really. It's going to be like, all right, who should we have as a coach? They're going to more collaborate. That's the best kind of team managerial structure, is when everybody collaborates. Even somebody who's above you listens to you and considers your opinion. I feel like if Drury hires Laviolette, there's going to be conflict, and I think Drury knows that. And I agree with Little Ed. If he was the guy Drury wanted, he would have been hired already. That's the reality. So I'm with you. I think it's Hines. I don't know if I like the move. I'm not gonna say anything about it, because
You're
every
not going to
time I
say
like
anything
it,
until halfway through the season that you liked or you didn't like it.
Yeah.
no, I'm not gonna say now, so that later on Coach Ed can be like, "You like the hire, and he sucks," I'm not gonna set myself up for that. So I just don't.
Well,
I don't really know at this point. I just want the Rangers to win, and I want the young kids to play, and I don't care who the coach is. Coach Ed could coach for all I care, as long as he puts.
You're
going
going to say you don't care who the coach is when you damn well care who the coach is.
yeah. Well, now since we don't have a doghouse this week, sponsored by Suter Sweet Treats, I think we should all pick someone that we don't want to be coach and put him in the doghouse.
Speaking of Suter Sweet Treats, we got that brand new flavor in the mail.
Just
keep impressing.
Yeah, unbelievable. Peanut butter this time around. So, Coach Ed, I got yours waiting for you over here. I had mine. I enjoyed it. It wasn't too strong. It didn't really give you like that too strong a peanut butter taste. I wasn't talking like I had peanut butter on the roof of my mouth. So
like you were French Canadian.
Yeah. So it was very good. It was nice and light and just a good flavor all around. So yeah, she also sent me a Hartford Wolfpack. Speaking of Knobloch,
Hartford
nice
Wolfpack
jersey for my collection, and she also sent me
collection?
a Yeti cup with the Coach Ed's Doghouse logo on it, because I'm always
Does she actually sell anything?
I don't know.
It's a lot of time spent on making stuff for us. I mean, I don't hate it, but does she have time to do anything to sell?
Yeah,
from what she posts on Instagram, they have a lot. They're very, very busy, and they actually.
You didn't see the Dallas Stars? You didn't see the Dallas Stars cookies she got from the order on that? That was insane.
From one of our listeners, yeah, for sure.
I may be doing a Memphis trip. How far is she from Memphis?
I have no idea.
We know.
Well, you were in contact. I have no idea.
You're in contact with her. Find out her
Yeah,
whereabouts.
what's her home address? Let's just put it on.
What
the
do you know
podcast.
about? What do you know about her whereabouts?
I'm sure that if you go to Tennessee Meg will connect with you, Coach. We'll set that up. Yeah. So, all right, which coach do I not want them to hire? I mean, I'm not going to consider Babcock as like really on, even though he's on this list. I'm going to just like kick him off the list. Um, I'm gonna probably say Quenneville. Just because like I agree with Coach. Like I just don't really know what took place with that Kyle Beach incident, and there's a lot of distractions that can come with that, just from a fan perspective. Forget the actual like, did he do something wrong? It's just I don't know if the Rangers really need that kind of a distraction. On top of that, yeah, I mean, if he knew about a sexual assault and kept it quiet because the team needed to win, that's kind of messed up. So he shouldn't be coaching, So I'm going to say Quenneville. I wanted to pick Laviolette, but I'm going easy on Coach.
Since you guys interrupted me, didn't let me finish the ad. Megan also made us Rangers at Podcast cookies. She 3D printed a stencil for our logo. And if you place an order on SuitersSweetTreats.net, they don't have the Etsy store anymore, so you got to go over to their personal website. So clearly they're doing pretty well to make their own website, Coach. Suitors,
I'm glad.
Sweet Treats.
I meant it as a compliment. I wanted to spend more time on her business.
All right, so Megan, no more cookies for Coach Ed.
No, I didn't say that.
I'll take the cookies.
I didn't say that. I ate one last night.
SuitersSweetTreats.net, and you can still use the same promo code EdPod23 for a free doghouse cookie and 10% off your order. I think there's still time to place an order for Father's Day, so go ahead and do that.
The peanut butter ones
my
are
dog,
really good.
Yeah, my doghouse. I don't think Quenneville's really a realistic candidate, so I wasn't going to go with him. So I'm going to go with Patrick Waugh. I don't really see the draw to him. There's always rumors that he's going to get hired by people. He never does. He seems pretty comfortable wherever he's at. So I don't think that's going to be the choice, and I don't really want that to be the choice. I don't think the young players will respond very well to him.
Well, he's doing well in the Memorial Cup. They must be responding somewhat.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think our young players will respond, or the Rangers' young players. But
I wouldn't mind. Am I up now?
Yeah, Coach, you're up.
I wouldn't mind Hines. I wouldn't mind Knobloch. I wouldn't mind Laviolette. I'm going to agree. I don't want Roy. I don't think he's too much of a loose cannon, and I don't see him creating that structure they need.
Yeah.
It'd be more turmoil.
Mikey?
I got to agree with you, cuz, after your spiel, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, some people don't think Quenneville is a realistic candidate, like Little Ed said, but I mean, they don't have a coach yet, and it's been made public that he's going to talk to Bettman. So, it seems like a Glenn Sather, Jim Dolan type of guy, right? One of the winningest coaches in NHL history. So I think it's realistic that he could be the guy. So we'll see. Hopefully not.
It doesn't seem like there's enough time for it to happen, but maybe you're right. Maybe that's why they're waiting so long.
I don't know.
So when does that talk officially happen? After the playoffs, you said?
Yes.
After the final. Yeah, so we got at least a week.
I think that's a blemish on the NHL. I think it's a blemish if they reinstate him personally.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to. Not yet. What do you think?
It's necessary.
What is the reason? Before we move on into the 150, what is the reason for waiting until Saturday to play Game 1? Does anybody know? Yeah, but I mean, when did the Golden Knights beat Dallas? Was it Monday?
It's 5 days ago.
NBA playoffs, maybe NBA finals.
Yeah, I was going to say you got finals too.
NBA finals just started tonight.
They just said on NHL, the Panthers haven't played in 10 days, and the Vegas hasn't played in 7. 5 or 7?
5. I think it was
probably
Monday.
5. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't understand. Like, Why? I mean, I know they had a schedule. I feel like they had a schedule for each series, and they just stuck to it, regardless of when the other series ended. They should have moved everything up. There's no reason for it. But
Yeah, I
It
mean
may not be
TNT
that
probably
easy.
has to do with it. Maybe they're trying to piggyback the NBA final on Saturday with the NHL final on TNT. I don't know what that schedule is.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe they like the Stanley Cup Finals to end like right before the awards and this and that and the other, like so everything could just be in a row. I don't
Yeah.
know, but it's annoying.
Well, that means that PK is not going to be on, right? Thank God.
It's a shame.
Yeah, I don't
Although
know. So
if he was on in the Stanley Cup Finals, I think Messier will end up. Him and Chelly might end up just choking him out.
yeah, so when you're watching the games though, make sure that you guys order Sorrentos for the games. I know I like to eat
Oh,
pizza during
yeah.
the games. You know,
How was
every
how was
last
the
year it
pizza
worked.
over in Yellowstone?
Oh God, I gotta send you guys a picture of one of the pizzerias. I didn't eat it, but it was hilarious. It said
How'd you
it
not get a
was
slice just to check
I
it
didn't
out?
I didn't want any Wyoming pizza, dude. That's like the last thing I wanted to eat. Um yeah, I should have did a food review of Yellowstone pizza.
Yeah.
Could have put it
you're
on the
definitely not
thing.
going to get a bad slice at Sorrento's, that's for sure.
Outlaws Pizza, best pizza in the West. Send you this, you're gonna die. So yeah, it's pretty funny, but no, I didn't get it there. But yeah, order the Sorrentos when you're watching the games. You know, it's nothing like pizza in hockey, right? So
Yep. Sorrento's
We
on the
got-
West End, sorrentosoflb.com.
yeah, we got a 150 with Mikey P to wrap up the episode here.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, sponsored by Sorrento's this week.
Over to Mikey P with your Rangers Ed 150, the fastest 150 seconds in the National Hockey Podcast League.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rangers Ed 150. We're finally down to our last two with the Stars and the Hurricanes exiting the playoffs in the conference finals. Before we get to the playoffs, one quick piece of offseason news. Kyle Dubas has signed on with the Pittsburgh Penguins as their head of hockey operations and is looking to contend for a cup over the next couple of years with that same core of Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. Sid reportedly said the right things in his phone call with Dubas prior to Dubas taking the job, and ultimately this was the deciding factor for the former Leafs GM. Last we talked, the conference finals were just getting underway, and with the exception of a brief flash in the pan by Dallas, we had clear winners in these series pretty much from the outset. First off, in the East, the Panthers absolutely steamrolled the Hurricanes 4-0. The Hurricanes have now been in 3 successive conference finals and are 0-12 over those 3 series. Florida, on the other hand, is absolutely on fire, and to boot, Sergei Bobrovsky is playing the best hockey of his season without a doubt since taking the net in round 1 from Alex Lyon. Matty Tkachuk has 21 points, 9 goals, and 12 assists through the first 3 rounds, and he has done nothing short of make the Florida execs and their hockey ops staff look like geniuses for that off-season move. Florida's had they have a big test ahead of them in the Cup Finals against Vegas, and it's going to be a real knock 'em down, drag 'em out series. In that Western Conference final, Vegas faced off against Dallas and ultimately ended up taking the series 4-2. The bottom line here for Dallas was that Jake Ottinger just was not it through the playoffs. He was streaky. He had poor games followed by great performances. They were able to steal games in round 1 and 2 on the back of these performances, but ultimately they could not do that against Vegas and dropped this series 4-2. Vegas jumped out ahead in the first 2 games. They were highly competitive affairs, but Dallas wasn't able to squeak them out. Dallas rolled over in Game 3, losing to Vegas 4-0 in a game that Jamie Benn fell onto Petrangelo's head with his stick, making the first bit of contact. Jason Robertson came to life in Games 4 and 5, brought the Stars to within 1 of tying the series, but the Golden Knights came out in Game 6, and before the Stars were even in the building, that game was already 3-0. They went on to win that game 6-0 and took the series 4-2, setting it up for a Florida-Vegas Stanley Cup final. Right now, it's looking like Florida has the upper hand. Vegas had a few lapses in these playoffs where they've surrendered games after some pretty good performances, games that they should have won, particularly in closeout situations. On the other side of the coin, Florida's been full steam ahead this entire playoff since going down 3-1 to Boston and Bob taking over the net. The only bit of concern here for the Panthers is that extended period of time they've had off between series after sweeping the Hurricanes, but they should be able to bounce back from that. Either way, we're going to get a first-time Stanley Cup winner, so it's going to be a great series no matter who wins. So, talk to you next week. This has been your 150.
It is kind of cool we're going to get a first-time Stanley Cup winner, although Vegas has only been in the league 6 years. So I'm rooting for Florida. I mean, I live in Miami. I got friends that are Panthers fans. They've been in the league 30 years, and they haven't won the Stanley Cup. I'm going to go with Florida. Coach, same. Obviously, you got your Panthers stuff out. You rooting for the Panthers or the Golden Knights?
I'm rooting for a good series. I don't mind. I'll be honest. I don't mind either team.
Right. I like both teams. I like Jack Eichel.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see him. He's been playing a real good game. Obviously, all the analysts are showing how he's been playing great two-way hockey.
Yeah, coming back from that injury.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's a lot of good storylines behind it. But I think Mikey P was wrong on that Jamie Benn penalty. That was against, speaking of our sponsor, Bella Marble and Stone. That was against Stone where he smashed his face with the stick.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe Stone will have a chance to play, win a Stanley Cup, and we could put his picture up at Bella Marble and Stone over in Oceanside.
That was such a seamless ad read that you just did there that the fans are going to think that Mikey P intentionally said that wrong so that you could squeeze it in the Bella.
What a setup.
I mean, did you guys see that play?
I think so. Yeah, I was away, so I think I missed it.
So. I mean, take a look at that play.
I think I saw it on Twitter. I don't remember.
It was a nasty play, and how anybody said, it was 2 games was too much. On NHL Network, Dubnik said it, and a couple of guys were like, I don't see it. I mean, he could have hurt him pretty bad, and it was uncalled for.
Yeah. I'll take a look. I honestly really no reception at all for a while, so I missed all those games, but also, I think Mikey P say the Hurricanes have been in 3 successive conference finals? Did he mean like their last 3 times they were in the conference finals they've been swept?
That's what I think he meant. Yeah.
Yes, 3 in a row, not successful.
No. I'm saying the Rangers beat the Hurricanes to go to the conference finals. So he didn't mean consecutive years. He meant the last 3 times.
Maybe he's maybe he's still a little stung by the fact that they were up 3-1 and lost.
Yeah. No, I think that's what he meant. My English might be bad, but the Rangers played the Lightning last year. He couldn't have meant 3 straight years.
Yeah.
Anyway. So good job, Mikey. I'm excited for the series. Like he said, it's going to be a first-time Stanley Cup winner. So order your Sorrentos, enjoy some hockey. We got the summer off as Ranger fans, so we can kind of just enjoy some good hockey, and hopefully it's a good series.
They got a lot of good meats and stuff to barbecue also, not just pizza and pasta. A lot of burgers, steaks, pork chops, you name it.
Ed, you missed the perfect ad read by Coach Ed off the hip. You got kicked off and you missed it for Bella Italia. Bella Marble.
I'll be surprised tomorrow morning when I'm taking my note.
Yes. But yeah, so again, thank you to Oscar at Pro Stitch Hockey. Check him out on Instagram at Oscars PH. Check out PSH. Sorry. Check out Suitors Sweet Treats new website, suiterssweettreats.net. Yep. Check out Bella Marble and Stone over on Lawson Boulevard in Oceanside, and check out Sorrento's for the Stanley Cup Finals. Order that pizza. Make sure you get that.
And our tattoo bomb. Don't forget about Mad Rabbit Tattoo Aid. Place your order today.
Who told you to put the bomb on?
Who told you to put the bomb on?
Stuff works well. I've been using it for a couple years now.
Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. So when we walked into this restaurant when we first got there,
Wait, how did you not try that slice of pizza?
and there was just literally taxidermy everywhere. Like I walked in and right next to me was like an 8-foot grizzly bear taxidermy. Deer heads on the wall, moose heads, bobcats, everything, right? So I walked in, I like froze up and I said, "This is a lovely room of death." And walked out. I was like, "We're not eating here."
Oh, shit.
It literally reminded me of that scene where like all the animal heads like zoom in on his face. And there's just like a peripheral vision, this bear next to me. I was just like, "Whoa, dude, I got to get out of here, man. This is not for me." But anyway, all right. Well, let's see. Rangers are going to hire a coach. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, even if that doesn't happen soon. We got our off-season awards coming up. Kind of waiting for the finals to play out to deliver those, maybe in line with the NHL awards. We have our own special awards for all the new listeners that we give out, like the Mark Messier Award, the Brian Leach Award, yada, yada, yada. So we'll go through that. And then we'll got an off-season preview coming up, which I love. Coach will be bored that episode, but we'll give him some Rubik's Cubes to play with or something and talk about the NHL draft and free agency. Got a lot going on. But all right, well, that's it, boys. Let's see if they hire a coach. We might have to do an emergency pod if they do.
Yep.
Sir.
I guarantee it's going to be tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's literally going to be right when we release the episode.
Yeah.
But,
never fails.
Never does.
All right. Good to catch up with you guys. Fans, thank you for everything. Sponsors, partners, love you guys. Thanks for the cookies, everything.
Yeah.
Until next week.
Enjoy the finals.
Up go Rangers.
Good night, guys.
Let's go Panthers.
Have a good night.
Go Panthers.
Love you guys.